Welcome to the Motherhood Mentor podcast. I'm Becca, a somatic healing practitioner and a holistic life coach for moms, and this podcast is for you. You can expect honest conversations and incredible guests that speak to health, healing, and growth in every area of our lives. This isn't just strategy for what we do, it's support for who we are. I believe we can be wildly ambitious while still holding all of our soft and hard humanity as holy. I love combining deep inner healing with strategic systems and no-nonsense talk about what this season is really like. So grab whatever weird health beverage you're currently into and let's get into it. Welcome to today's episode of the Motherhood Mentor podcast. Today is a kind of different episode where I'm just going to share a piece of the season I've been in. And the reason I decided to do this podcast is because every time I've had this conversation with a woman, I have watched her shoulders drop and her realize that it's okay to be in this season that I'm in or something similar to it. And so I thought I'd have a little bit more of a vulnerable personal share on this podcast. I've had quite a few conversations of people coming up and being like, okay, what are your big goals for 2025? What's your word for the year? How you feeling? What are your business ambitions and goals for this year? And every time they're like, how are you? And I've paused a couple times checking into because I'm good. I'm really good. I've been good. And I love having deep conversations where we give the more nuanced, full human, messy responses that aren't an elevator pitch. I hate elevator pitches. I hate the light-hearted networking. I'm like, no, give me the good stuff. Actually tell me. When I say, how are you? I actually want to know how you are. I really want to take the time to meet you and connect with you and be where you are and be able to resonate or ask you questions. So anyways, when a couple times when someone asked me hey, how are you? What are you excited for this year? My honest answer has been, I'm really good. Things are good. And it has been a really difficult season where it feels like so much of me is really good. I feel like, I'm so resourced, things that parenting and marriage and business are better than they've ever been. They feel so good. And then there's this one part of me that is deeply struggling, that is grieving. And it's been such a weird season because some of this grief and some of this deep healing work that's come up, part of it has come up because I think I'm really resourced, and my body and my soul and my spirit kind of knew that I finally had time and energy and capacity to be able to move through and process and metabolize some things that have been deeply frozen for a long time. And then part of it is that my daughter is the same age I was when some pretty intense trauma happened and a pretty intense long season of CPTSD and a lot of emotional dysregulation happened and a lot of pain and hurt and grief. And I'm seeing it in a new, different way. There's been a lot of new emotion around what I had to go through and kind of the outfall of it, how that impacted me for a very long time and how it still does, honestly. And I don't know about you, but I somewhat often I get really sick of healing. I get really sick of this again, this shit again. I've done this. I've talked about this. I've felt this. I've cried about this. Will it just leave me alone? And, there was a powerful season in my life where I still remember a night at a worship service and I was praying God, I need you to why does this have to be my story? And it was well, that's not going to change. That doesn't go back and go away, but it can be redeemed. And so, another facet of this is that I started, in fall, I started an advanced somatic training that was working with trauma fields. And I thought it was going to be cute. Somatic work, you're usually not just learning logically. You're not just cognitively talking about concepts, you're experiencing it. you are doing the work yourself, because it's one thing to know about it. It's another thing to know it in your bones. It's another thing to have experienced it and walked through it and know the sensations of it and know the experience of it. And I intentionally will look for trainings where I'm experiencing the healing. So when I jumped into this training, I knew what I was getting into, but I didn't know what I was getting into. I did not expect the depths of my stuff that I've never experienced or felt to this degree. The level of existential wounding and pain and fear and freeze response that, came up in my body, that's been there. It's been there. But it's been frozen. And as that has been thawing, as I've made contact with some of those parts of me, it's been painful. There has been grief, there has been anger. And, in one of my coaching calls, we were talking, and, some of this trauma happened at a very early age. But I was talking about how I'm pretty resourced. Like I've been developing resource and tools and maturity and ways to support myself, both like on my own and, outside of myself, for years on my own. But I've also been doing this work professionally for 5 years. Like, people pay me to do this. I love using that for myself. Like, people pay me to do this. Like, I know what I'm doing. And yet I found this part of me. I felt like a colicky baby was the way that I found the language of, like, I feel like a colicky baby. And for the first time in a very, very long time, like, I can't remember the last time I had this. It's been hard for me to figure out what I need, or for anything to actually make it better. Like, when you have a colicky baby, and it doesn't matter how good you balance, it doesn't matter how you wrap them, it doesn't matter how you feed them or burp them, they just cry. And that's all there is to do, is just be with them while they cry. That has been the season for me. That has been this weird type of grief and healing, is like, there's nothing here to do. There's nothing here to, like, make sense of or know. There's no way to fix it or make it better or help it, which is my least favorite thing. Like, I want problems I can fix. I want solutions. I want to solve things. I want to make it better. And like I said, most of me has been really, really good. And then there are these moments or these parts or these pieces that just, everything is too much or too little. It's, resting and taking a nap is too slow, and working out how I used to is too fast. And it's been frustrating. It's been really irritating to just let this be a winter season, to let this be a season where things composted and died off, and where I had this trust in this slow process that, like, one of the things about winter is that when you look outside, it doesn't look like anything's happening in nature. When it comes to, like, I think of, like, the trees or, like, the plants, like, our garden looks hideous. We never, like, pulled out the dead plants of our garden. So just, like, it does not look pretty right now. But I think of that soil, and I think of all of the things dying in it right now. That's composting, and it's going to be nutrient rich soil that's even better come spring to plant things in. But that's not exactly a shiny season. It's not exactly a productive season. It's not exactly an easy, like, hey, what's your goals and word for 2025? And I'm just like, I don't know yet. Like, leave me alone. Like, leave me, like, I've had to learn how to leave myself alone a little bit better this season, and just let myself exist and take up space and realize that that's enough. And it hasn't been this major season of external, oh my gosh, look at all of this happening. And yet I keep seeing all of these deep signs of, like, the roots of my health. And I keep looking at, what does health look like in the middle of winter? What does health look like in the middle of grief? What does health look like when healing looks like anger, and letting that move through my body, and how that's healthy and holy, and not being afraid and not panicking, not spiraling or losing context of who and where and when I am, because a lot of times that's what trauma does to us. It it brings us back to those moments because we never fully integrated them. And so I've just been allowing things to integrate, and that takes time and presence and pressure and intention. And so, yeah, I still, we're here at the end of January. I don't have a year for the word. I don't have a year for the word. I don't have a word for the year. I don't have big, giant personal, professional goals. And part of that is being in winter and honoring just like, spring will come. Spring will come when all of a sudden I'm going to get these ideas of things I want to plant or things I want to build or the land I want to like, how I want to like cultivate my life. But right now I'm just doing the next right thing, doing what honors my capacity and what feels good and trusting my pace. And, there's been days where that pace has been joining the 5 a.m. club again. Like my daughter has early morning basketball practices. So the days that she's been having that, I've been going to the gym and it's been feeling so freaking good. It's been a long time since I've been 5 a.m. weightlifting club. And yet it's felt so good on some days, but I didn't come into the year like, I'm going to do it every day. It was just like, okay, on the days that feel good. On the days that feel good, I'm going to make sure I get in all my steps. And how am I nurturing and nourishing myself? And am I spending time moving my body and listening to music and reading really good books and snuggling with my babies and doing all of the things that make up life? And honestly, I think part of it too, I think one, it's winter season for me, but I think another part of it is I've spent the last year feeling more present than I ever have in my entire life. And I have realized I feel deeply content. Like I want things, like I'm hungry, I'm ambitious, I've got shit I want to do. And it is big. Like it's some big shit. But none of that's coming from this pressured place right now. It's coming from this permission of like, yeah, that'd be cool. And right here's really good. I really like it right here. It's this, thank you more, please. Thank you more, please. And so, anyways, if you are in a winter season, if you are in a season where you are just humbly crawling through, what does health look like there on your knees? What does health look like in the depths of winter? What does health look like when you are feeling burnt out? What does health look like when you are grieving or angry or frustrated or overwhelmed or overstimulated? What would health do? What would it look like? How would it move? What is its pace? Is it slower or faster? One of the things I play with a lot lately is that pace. Like, what is the pace of my peace? And peace doesn't always mean calm. Peace doesn't always mean slow. Sometimes it means intensity. Sometimes it means, ooh, I'm really letting some behaviors or some things into my life that don't serve me, that don't feel good, that like, okay, this is comfortable, but comfortable is very different than peace. Sometimes peace is only accomplished through intense violence or conflict. Like sometimes peace comes with a cost. Sometimes it's not cute and gentle. And sometimes that's an intensity of fighting for something. But if you're a high functioner, which you likely are, if you listen to this podcast and you really relate to me in the way that I share, news check. You like me because you are me. No, not really, not always. But I think for high functioners, we're very used to doubling down, for saying like, I just have to work harder. I just have to work better. It's just something goes wrong and we double down, and we've never learned the art of something goes wrong and we realize that it's not actually our fault and we have actually no capacity or capability to fix it, and we just have to learn how to be with it. That sucks. I hate that for us. I hate that for us, that there isn't always a pretty bow that we can tie on things, that there isn't always a way that we can double down and fix it. But there is a way that we can say, okay, how do I relate and respond to it? How do I build healthy relationship to this part of me or to this place of my life? That we can do. So if you're in that season too, I feel you. I get you. Hang in there. We never freak out that spring isn't coming. We might get annoyed with how long winter's taking. We might get really excited for spring, and then we hit that early part of spring where it's just like really muddy and it's not even really much better than winter. And we're just like, God, just give me the snow back. Like, I'll take the snow over the stupid mud any day, or the wind, or, I'll always find a way to complain about the weather. If you know me in real life, you know that it's one of my passions to complain about the weather or temperature, because I'm a highly sensitive person, and I'm apparently a delicate flower when it comes to the weather. But anyways, hold on in winter. Find ways to make it cozy and healthy. And you know what? If you're in a spring and a summer, I love that for you. I freaking love it for you. If you came into 2025 hot, I love it. Keep at it. Trust your pace in your season. Again, do not let people who are in winter tell you that you're doing something wrong, or that you're trying too hard, or that you're too ambitious, or you want too many things. No. Trust your pace. Trust your season. Give yourself permission to speed up or slow down as many times and as often and as intensely and dramatically as you want and need. So I hope this podcast supported you. I hope it helped you. Let me know if you like these episodes. These more like, I don't know, I'm not coming here with notes or something specific to teach. I'm just kind of sharing and riffing. Let me know if you like these episodes. Send me a DM. I'd love to hear what season you're in. And if you loved this podcast, would you take a minute and follow the podcast? That way you always get updates. I have some of the best, you guys, I have some of the best interviews coming. You don't even know. Like, just get ready, because these are so good that like I am excited to go back and listen to them, and I've already heard them. So make sure you are subscribed and following in whatever app you listen on. And will you please take a minute and leave a review? That will make such a big difference for me and for my business. So thank you so much, and I will see you next time. Thanks for joining me on today's episode of the Motherhood Mentor podcast. Make sure you have subscribed below so that you see all of the upcoming podcasts that are coming soon. I hope you take today's episode and you take one aha moment, one small tangible piece of work that you can bring into your life to get your hands a little dirty, to get your skin in the game. Don't forget to take up audacious space in your life. If this podcast moved you, if it inspired you, if it encouraged you, please do me a favor and leave a review. Send an episode to a friend. This helps the show gain more traction. It helps us to support more moms, more women. And that's what we're doing here. So I hope you have an awesome day. Take really good care of yourself, and I'll see you next time.